It's important to our country, it's important to the Republic, the American people, that they understand what was going on in this very consequential period. The last year of the Trump administration, and to tell the story about things we prevented, really bad things, dangerous things, that could have taken the country in a dark direction.
What kind of terrible things did you prevent?
At various times, during certainly the last year of the administration, you have folks in the White House are proposing to take military action against Venezuela, to strike Iran. At one point, somebody proposed we blockade Cuba. These ideas would happen, it seemed, every few weeks, something like this would come up, and we'd have to swat them down.
Who's we had to swat them down?
Well, mostly me. I had good support from General Mark Milley.
Mark Esper and chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, ran the Army for over a year before finding themselves in charge at the Pentagon. In order to deal with what he calls some of the crazy ideas coming from the White House, Esper and Milley came up with a system.
I come up with this idea, actually Mark Milley and I discuss it, what we call the 4 no's. The 4 things we had to prevent from happening between then and the election. And one was no strategic retreats, no unnecessary wars, no politicization of the military, and no misuse of the military. And so as we went through the next 5 to 6 months, that became the metric by which we would measure things.
My head blows up every time I hear this. I did it last hour with Jake Beckett down there from the 101st Airborne. Jake served, and he's running for the Senate against another establishment type. Boris, before I'm going to bring in Commander Greitens, because Commander Greitens, Navy SEAL, he's been all over the world in harm's way. He understands about who the commander-in-chief is. But, Boris, I understand Liz Harrington, the great Liz Harrington, our former executive editor here at the War Room for, I don't know, for about a year. She put out today,
right.
And I got a little hot this morning. But, brother, I got to tell you, the more I watch this, and now I've seen Daily Mail's got a huge exclusive on another part of the book about Trump. It sounds to me like Trump is a commander-in-chief that has judgment and discernment, okay? Judgment and discernment. And you've got these people around him that are actively engaged in a coup. And I want people to understand, this is not progressive left Democrats. These are not progressive left. This is the administrative state and rhino Republicans. Boris, before I bring on Commander Greitens, your thoughts?
No doubt about it. This is what we're supposed to be, you traditional establishment Republicans. But CBS glossed over this. Esper is a defense lobbyist. He's part of that uniparty neocon group that all they want to do was go engage in wars and go have as much money out there as possible for the big defense contractors and the companies that profit for them. They're not here for the American people. And the 4 no's you talked to, one of them is no strategic redeployment, I believe you said. So what does that mean?
Retreat,
no
which is
retreat.
It's called Afghanistan and Korea.
So the president of the United States, duly elected by the American people, was somehow not allowed to decide that it was time to end the positioning of troops in Afghanistan or somewhere else around the world, that Esper is somehow in control, or Milley is in control, or someone else, be it Mike Pompeo or others, are in control. That makes absolutely no constitutional sense outside of one thing. That is a coup. To have a junta of military personnel who say, okay, we are in charge. The duly elected Democratic Republic, the Democratic leader in our Democratic Republic is not in charge. That is a coup. There's no other way to call it. And Esper better be pretty worried about what's going to happen when Republicans take control. But what I said this morning, I'll say it again. We should not wait until then. Let's not forget the Russia hoax investigations started and were carried out when Democrats were in the minority and they rammed them through. Republicans better step up and find out what is it that Esper and Milley were really doing. Why was Milley talking to the Chinese behind the scenes? Again, going behind the back of the duly elected commander-in-chief. This is not a joke. This was a serious undertaking at the top of our government to take the power away from, again, the duly elected commander-in-chief. It is unacceptable. But here's the bottom line politically. All this makes President Trump look great. You're right, Steve. He's somebody who had judgment and discernment. When Esper said, oh, he wanted to go and strike Iran, that was Bolton. that was obsessed with starting war in Iran. You want to talk about Venezuela? As we said this morning.
Hold on. Don't bury the lead. He stopped the missile strike because it says non-proportionality. He stopped a missile strike in like the countdown. Said, I don't think we're going to do that. Dial it down. On Venezuela, they had the ridiculous thing with the Woody Allen, the guys in the mismatched uniforms, like 9 guys are going to take over the government. Bolton tweeting out Liberation Day, Pompeo Liberation Day, Pence Liberation Day. A clown show. Trump shut that whole thing down. Right. They had 9 guys sitting outside of a thing going to throw Madera. And you think you got a bunch of criminals in Beijing and in Moscow? You got the B team criminals down there in Venezuela. Let me bring in Commander Greitens. Commander. You've been all over the world deployed. You're a commander at Navy SEALs. You've had our finest young men in harm's way with the responsibility to you. You heard Esper. You tell me, and I got to, hey, Boris, I finally understood something. Now I understand why they hate Greitens so much, right? They hate Greitens because Greitens going to tell you like it is. This is why they hate Greitens. Every time you see Karl Rove and Steve Wynn and these trying to do all this madness, Karl Rove, the Bush faction, the warmongers that want to keep us totally at war all the time, that's why they hate Eric Greitens. Commander Greitens, when you heard Esper's voice, by the way, at West Point of all things, did the superintendent read the book and then agreed still to have the interview, or the superintendent not read the book and just let Esper come up there and talk about a coup? Eric Greitens.
Well, here's the one thing you know from Esper's interview. Number 1, Mark Esper is a failure. And number 2, President Trump was an outstanding commander-in-chief. Here are the facts. Number 1, President Trump put an end to endless wars. 2, when it was time to fight, he defeated ISIS. He killed Qasem Soleimani. He also moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. He achieved historic peace deals. He was an outstanding commander-in-chief. And what you're hearing is him as a commander-in-chief saying, I've got some big issues here. I've got fentanyl that's killing tens of thousands of Americans. I've got violence across the United States of America. And he's doing exactly what a commander should do. Ask for options. But instead, what you're getting from Esper, instead what you're getting from all of these failures, generals and admirals who are pursuing a woke agenda, pushing critical race theory on the military, failing in Afghanistan, was that instead what they should have been doing was giving options to the commander-in-chief. Mr. President, here are the options that you have for securing the southern border to help with fentanyl coming across the border. Here are the options that you have for the U.S. military to support Department of Homeland Security agencies. Mr. President, here are the options that you have for intelligence sharing. Here are the options that you have for foreign internal defense operations. Here are the options that you have for direct strikes. And what they should be doing is presenting options to the President of the United States, Donald Trump, who was an outstanding commander-in-chief. Instead, they were working against him in a way that was completely unconstitutional, and it's absolutely wrong. And all you're seeing here from Esper and all of these failures is that while President Trump was pursuing the agenda of the American people, he had all of these deep staters working against him. Imagine what President Trump is going to be able to achieve when he's got a government that's actually working for him and he's got cabinet leaders who have his back.
And got guys like Jake Beckett and Commander Eric Greitens, 2 warriors in the United States Senate. This is, by the way, I heard more logic there, Boris, and I've heard from all these other guys because there you got a guy that's a steady hand and has discernment. That's Eric Greitens. I want to say one thing. Can I play this next clip? In Jerusalem, remember, we're going to move the embassy in the first day, Boris. But everybody said, "Oh no, the Arab street's going to explode. It's going to be 100 embassies are going to be taken. There's going to be 5,000 hostages." Remember this all internally. Yes. Not on Donald Trump's watch. They moved the embassy. Hey, it's just another day at the office. That's because the world is not going to cross Donald Trump. You think Putin would be doing this in Ukraine right now, Donald Trump, President of the United States? You think that Biden could move or Bush could move the embassy, the place wouldn't explode, right? You think what you think Omar? You think on Donald Trump's watch, Omar's going to go to Pakistan, control Kashmir, and flit around up there? They didn't do it. Okay, because he's not going to tolerate that nonsense. And we live in a very dangerous world. I want to play this next clip because this is all that the corrupt uniparty is up to. Let's play the clip on the $33 billion from MSNBC if we can, Memphis.
Well, we are certainly looking at that possibility, Hallie. In fact, a new opinion poll from Yahoo and Maru Public Opinion suggests that for the majority of Americans, we are already at the price where they would change their plans. 66% of people said that if it stays somewhere between $4.12 and $4.35 a gallon, well, we are pretty much there right now. The rest of the country essentially says that for them, it would take getting to a $5 per gallon price as a national average for them to change their hands. Well, I'm standing in a place right now where it's $6 a gallon. And for anyone pulling let's say
Okay, that's the wrong clip. I wanted the clip just about the $33 billion. Here's what happened today. They talked about later in that clip, which is too long to play. They talked about this $33 billion. They say they now have bipartisan support, but it's increased to $40 billion. This is a bailout for the oligarchs. It's a bailout for the oligarchs in, wait for it, Ukraine. Oligarchs don't have to put any money. Europe doesn't have to put any money. And instead of $33 billion, it's now increased to $40 billion. And they have broad bipartisan support. Eric Greitens, you're running for the United States Senate. The folks in Missouri, do they have $33 or $40 billion coming to them to help? They can't put groceries on the table. They got to change their travel plan because of the price of gas, all of that. Do they have $40 billion coming their way, sir?
They should have money coming their way, but instead what you're seeing is Washington, D.C. wasting their money, entangling us overseas with no strategic plan in the Ukraine. That is more than the entire budget of the state government of Missouri, and they're just sending it over to Ukrainian oligarchs. The people of Missouri would much rather see that money spent securing our border, securing the southern border of the United States, which Joe Biden has left open to Mexican drug gangs and cartels. But instead, the Uniparty, again, is pursuing their own agenda, which is directly contrary to what the people of Missouri want. They don't want us engaged in a shooting match with Russia. They want us to pursue President Trump's foreign policy of peace through strength. Peace through strength. But once again, the Uniparty, not just the leftists, but also the rhinos and the corrupt establishment stabbing the American people in the back. It's absolutely the wrong way to go.
Commander Greitens, I take it you'd be a no if this bill was put before you of $40 billion for 5 months. $40 billion for 5 months. You'd be a hard no on this?
Hard no. 100% hard no on this.
Commander Greitens, how do people find out more about you and more about your campaign? Because, and by the way, is there a new poll that I think that just is there a new poll that just came out, Boris, that talks about the race in Missouri?
No doubt about it. New poll shows Commander Greitens up a lot on the field. He's up by almost 10 points, blown away the field. All the nonsense that was thrown at him by the terrible combination of McConnell, Rove, and George Soros has done nothing, has done absolutely nothing to distract from the MAGA champion message he's bringing to the people of Missouri. Greitens up by a ton. I actually sent the graphic of Memphis as the graphic we could show right now, but and the governor could talk more about it. He's seeing what he's seeing on the ground, the level of support, the level of grassroots enthusiasm for him is absolutely unparalleled, and we're seeing that in the polling that just came out literally today.
Right before I let you go, Commander Greitens, if we got that poll, we can put it up. But Commander Greitens, why do they hate you? Why does Rove and the establishment in Missouri and McConnell, why of everybody running, and we've been in some tough ones, okay, they seem to hate Greitens just a little bit more than everybody else. Why is that, sir?
It's very simple, Steve, because I fight for the people of Missouri, and the establishment knows they can't control me. I think for myself, and I fight for the people. They're looking for cowardly rhinos who they can control, and they know that they cannot control me. I'm going to think for myself, and I'm going to fight for the people of Missouri. The exact same reasons they hated President Trump are the same reasons why they hate me here in Missouri, because I'm a champion of the America First movement.
Commander Greitens, one more time, how do people find out more about your campaign?
Yeah, we love anybody who's opposed to Karl Rove and Mitch McConnell and the Uniparty. Come out and join our campaign. We're at ericgreitens.com. It's EricGreitens.com. You can follow us on all the social media platforms at Eric Greitens, and we'd be honored to have your folks join us.
Thank you, Commander. By the way, I would talk to my producer. If we have the clip that shows the $33 billion, I want the audience just to, we played it in the earlier hour, but Boris, I want to play it for your edification. You got to hear this the way it rolls out. Let's go ahead and play it.
News to get into from Capitol Hill, where a deal has apparently been reached to separate COVID funding from President Biden's new multi-billion-dollar aid request for Ukraine. I want to bring in Sahil Kapoor, who is with us now from the Hill. So Sahil, this is just into us now, and this is a move that I think had been some folks on the Hill had wanted to see. Talk us through it.
That's right, Hallie. Congress appears to have just cleared a path to passage for President Biden's massive Ukraine aid package. Now, recall, this had been jammed up over the last couple of weeks because congressional leaders wanted to attach COVID relief funding, which Republicans in the Senate had promised to filibuster over demands of an immigration amendment. The entire package had been stalled, but now congressional sources tell our colleagues Frank Thorpe and Julie Sirkin that the president has communicated to congressional leaders that he wants the Ukraine package to pass separately. That would clear a path that has broad bipartisan support in the House, where it's likely to originate, as well as the Senate. And the second bit of news, it has grown. It was initially $33 billion. It is now nearly $40 billion, with the increases coming on about $3.5 billion for food aid and another $3.5 billion for additional drawdown authority for military equipment. A major piece of President Biden's domestic ask of Congress right now has a path forward as a result of this decision by the president. What remains in the lurch is COVID relief, that $10 billion bipartisan package. Senate Republicans are still demanding that immigration vote. Democrats don't want to grant it to them. Hallie?
Okay, I want everybody to understand something here. That's $40 billion for 5 months. $40 billion for 5 months. This is a disgrace. This is all how this city operates. They just cut the printing press on. There's no discipline, right? Because no discipline's put on them. This is the uniparty. This is all collaborators. Every Republican, in fact, the Republican Senate doesn't force this to have to go to cloture. They all should be fired, all of them. Everybody that votes for this bill, to me, is a collaborator. This is an obscenity. There's not one penny from the Ukrainian oligarchs who have stolen more money, and they've stolen more U.S. taxpayer money than anybody in the world, including Russian oligarchs. Because we ain't sending money into Russia, we're sending it into Ukraine. They've been stealing with both hands, okay? The Europeans, they had McCaffrey on. We played this morning on that. We played this morning the clip. McCaffrey said the Europeans have shown no will at all to force the Russians economically to do anything to change their behavior. Why? They don't want to change their lifestyles. You have people that can't put food on the table here in the United States of America. You have people that are changing their travel plans. You have people that are canceling their vacations with their kids because of runaway inflation. This is an obscenity. And they don't have the common courtesy to come forward and make a case. There's been no case made for this. What, Cassidy comes on for some ephemeral of the Ukrainian people? If this is for the sovereignty of Ukraine, if this is for the territorial integrity of Ukraine, and if this is for the self-determination of the Ukrainian people, I don't care. That's a European problem and a Ukrainian people problem. Have the Ukrainians get their oligarchs to put their money into the deal. Let's get some skin in the game from guys that are called Ukrainians. Okay? Let's get the rest of them from Poland and Germany and Italy. And how about let's go to Switzerland? You ever been to Switzerland, those rich towns of Switzerland, all those rich Swiss and all the other crooks throughout the world living there? Where's their money in this deal? Your money's coming in there and you're going to pay for it. Where's the $40 billion to Missouri? Where's the $40 billion to North Carolina, right? Where's the $40 billion to Arkansas? Where's the $40 billion to Alabama and to Mississippi? Where is that? Where's the $40 billion to St. Louis and Detroit and Baltimore? Where is it? Where is it? They're sitting there. Boris, I tell you one, I'm so mad I could spit on this thing. Give me your perspective, sir.
I'm very happy about it. I think that's a great idea. This is an absolute abomination, Steve. It's an abomination because, first of all, look how they're spinning it. That reporter said that's a domestic piece of spending? How is that domestic? And no, by definition, it's not domestic, okay? They're trying to say that this is somehow benefiting the American people. And that's how they're spinning it, and that's how they're lying to Americans. And you're right. Where's our supposed president to talk to the American people and say, okay, this is why we need to give $40 billion of your dollars. This is not Nancy Pelosi's money. This isn't Chuck Schumer's money. Contrary to his belief and Hunter's belief, that's not Joe Biden's money. This is the money of the MAGA movement, the War Room Posse. This is it's the middle class, it's the manufacturer, it's the working class. That's whose money it is. And they would have sent it to Ukraine, where Jill Biden went for Mother's Day. Ooh, big deal. Okay? We don't have a southern border. We literally do not have a southern border. The market is imploding. We don't have a supply chain, and our Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, is still probably on a paternity leave. Okay? We have a disaster in this country, and what our bipartisan elected officials are worried about is, oh, you know what? 33 billion was not quite enough for Ukraine. Let's make it 40. Why not make it $1 trillion? That's just it's all funny money to you anyway.
It's going to get to trade. We just spent $9 trillion in Iraq and Afghanistan. Tell you what, let's go to some grassroots here and see. We want to talk about some wins. We're going to come back to this before we're finished. I want to go to Tiffany Justice, Moms for Liberty. I told you we'd get you there. Moms for Liberty, massive wins throughout school boards all over the state of Texas over the weekend. Tiffany, put it in perspective. What are we seeing here? We did a special, The Revolt of Moms Across America. Is that what the Texas school board races tell us?
Yeah, and I'm gonna bring some hope here and some good news. So what you're seeing across America is parents are pretty ticked off. And they are looking to replace some of the elected officials that have been in some of these school board seats that have not been listening to them. And it's good to see this rise up of parents in Texas. So we saw over 20, we're still calculating, but over 20 of our Moms for Liberty endorsed school board candidates won elected office in Texas. And that's in Denton, Fort Bend, Harris County, Tarrant County, Bexar County. So we'll start in Fort Bend County if we could, Steve. I'm excited to say that Jim Rice, who's been on the school board there since 2010 and served as the president of the Texas School Boards Association, will no longer be able to serve in that capacity because he has been replaced on his local school board. So that's pretty great to have somebody come in and unseat an incumbent of 12 years. Also a really great time to talk about school board limits for school board members. Term limits. In Florida, we just passed a law that said that 12 years, that's it. You serve on school board for 12 years, you are termed out. I'd like to see it be 8 years. Perhaps we can work on that. But we need school board limits all across this country. We also need these school board elections to be on cycle. So, here we are in the middle of May having Texas school board races. We just saw Wisconsin school board races. May 17th, we're going to see New York school board races. But boy, wouldn't it be great for voters to have more information and to be able to go out to the polls and not have to worry about these off-cycle elections, which I have to be honest, I think it's been done on purpose. The only people paying attention are school boards, unions, to these school board races. Just to run through some of the other, we had another seat that we won on that Fort Bend County race, and then to move on to Harris County, 3 seats. Moms for Liberty endorsed school board candidates won. We won over 3 incumbents there. In Tarrant County, in Mansfield Independent School District, they go by ISD. 2 seats were won. In Grapevine, another 2 seats. In Carroll County, another 2 seats. In Keller, 3 seats won. They now have a majority there. In Birdville Hills Independent School District, 1 seat was won. Moving on to Bexar County, we won 2 seats, 1 loss. But in Bexar County, they've got some other issues going on. They had a bond vote that apparently their superintendent did some sketchy things, driving people out to the polls, driving union members and school staff out to the polls. So stay tuned for that story. But moving on, again, Fort Bend County, super excited about that. In Denton County, 1 win. We lost 2. And then another win in Denton County Independent School District, where one win will turn that whole school board around. I will say this.
Amazing.
In Austin, that's a fairly liberal area. However, it's been great to see. We didn't win seats there, but we only lost by a few hundred votes. So I just don't want to undermine how important it is to come out for these school board races and to vote in them.
This was monumental what happened on Saturday, and this is just the beginning of it. We're the top of the first inning. This is parents' rights. This is people getting involved, moms and dads taking back these school boards, and then they're going to start changing out administrators, going to start changing out teachers. Tiffany, how do people get to Moms for Liberty? Because you guys are on fire.
Yeah, go to momsforliberty.org. You can click on the map there, and you can click on your state, see if you have a chapter near you in your county. If you don't, click to start one. You need 10 like-minded people with you to join together, come to school board meetings and speak. And Steve, I just want to thank the War Room Posse because you invited us on for your Mother's Day special. We were so blessed to be a part of that, and we had over $6,000 in donations from War Room Posse members donating some degree of the number 47 or ending in 7. So thank you for that.
That's so fantastic. Tiffany, thank you so much. And for all the parents, all the people that ran, even the ones that didn't win, okay, a monumental day, a historic day, Saturday for school board elections in Texas is happening all over the country. We're going to come back. Debbie Dooley, one of the fire-breathing activists down in Georgia, are going to get us up to date on what's happening. We got Debbie Dooley and a cast of others next in the War Room.
War Room Battleground with Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, welcome back. Boris, I want to bring you in first. These school board races, we have talked about this. This is kind of the tip of the spear, and I want to thank everybody that watched our War Room special on Mother's Day weekend on Saturday. Called The Revolt of the Moms of America, and particularly those folks that contributed and helped out for Moms for Liberty. By the way, Moms for Liberty is great. There's other groups out there doing this. People are absolutely engaged like I've never seen before across this country at school board levels, and this is we call it the tip of the spear. This is the thing that's going to drive through and actually get us to victory in November. Boris, walk through how important are these things? How important are these things coming right now? How important are these school board races? And they're getting pretty impressive. You got PACs out there. You've got professional advisors. How big is this? Texas is a huge state, but there's a lot more school board races going on. How big is it?
Vital, Steve. This is what got us to victory in a big way in Virginia. And that was all MAGA driven with Youngkin. And it was also the moms and the dads, the parents of America that made New Jersey so unbelievably close for Citarelli and Murphy. So where we stand right now is we have the mothers and fathers of America who are saying we are not going to put up with this. We're not going to put up with CRT. We're not going to put up with sex education for our kids. We're not going to put up with nonsense and instead of education for our children, where teachers and administrators think that the kids are somehow under control of theirs, instead still the children of their parents. So this movement and the bond between parents and their kids are so strong that I would say they're likely some of the strongest headwinds the Democrats and the libs and the woke radicals, and the strongest backwinds that we, the MAGA movement under the leadership of President Trump, have as we head into November of 22 and then into 24. To see this level of engagement at the school board level tells you that the MAGA movement, the War Room Posse, are more engaged than ever, and they're more powerful than ever. And in a way, Steve, that's everything. Engagement is everything, because I strongly believe that if you poll the American people and they answer truthfully, 2/3 is right now MAGA supporting President Donald J. Trump. And as long as we activate these folks, as long as we give them power, we give them strength, and they are motivated to go and act as the Moms for Liberty and the parents all across the country standing up for their kids are, we are going to win, and we're going to win historically big.
By the way, I announced Terry Schilling's going to join us on tomorrow morning show. There's an announcement, big story in Politico, as I told you about the last hour. The headline is Biden officials prepared to blow up Trump's rules on sexual misconduct in schools. This is the whole gender issue. This is the Title IX with the boys playing girls sports. This is about due process for all these sexual assaults. It's an entire. They're tripling down on in the face about parents' rights. That's what this gets down to. Terry Schilling's going to be tomorrow morning. We're also going to have a big investigation on these on the formula. Right now, you go in the stores, not even baby formula. Talk about shortages. The thing is an out of control nightmare. Boris, real quickly before I bring on Debbie Dooley down in Georgia, there is definitely some momentum in back of Purdue. He's on fire right now. You got John Fredericks down there in the bus tour. Give us your assessment. Cortez said he went to the breakfast in Fulton County. I want to thank all the War and Posse there. He said people came up to him, hundreds, afterwards, and just said, hey, we love the war and love what you guys are doing. Give me your 2 minutes on Georgia, Boris Ephsteyn.
We're coming in hot in Georgia. There's no doubt about it. President Trump's endorsed David Perdue. David Perdue is the fighter that's going up against Brian Kemp. Brian Kemp stabbed MAGA in the front and the back. David Perdue has said that the 2020 election was rigged and stolen, no doubt about it. And now you're seeing the polling starting to close, very similar to what happened in Virginia when MAGA put Youngkin on its back. Same thing that happened in Ohio with J.D. Vance. The Trump movement, which is so unbelievably strong, is piling in the back of David Perdue. And we need for everybody, and I know you may have not been, David Perdue's biggest fans in the past, whatever it may be, but David Perdue is our champion to beat Brian Kemp. And Brian Kemp's got to be defeated. And that is why that polling is closing and getting so tight. And I'll say it this way. 2 weeks out, I think David Perdue is in a better position vis-a-vis Brian Kemp than J.D. Vance was versus Gibbons and Mandela and Dolan and others. So this race is very much winnable for MAGA, and we've got to win it.
It's just like Beckett in Arkansas. You keep the guy below 50, you go to a runoff. So, hey, there's a couple ways to play this. Remember, this is how Perdue got beaten, right? Perdue had 90,000 votes, I think, in the first round, being in the United States Senate, 2,000 less. And obviously that was stolen down there in Fulton County. Let's go to Debbie Dooley. She's an activist. Walk us through a lot of people that we have a very high opinion of. Tell us about there's a massive turnout now among the grassroots in rural Georgia. People who don't normally vote in midterms. A lot of people have not voted in a couple of primaries, like 3 or 4 primaries in a row. Debbie Dooley in Georgia, walk us through the math. Is this as massive a turnout of MAGA as people were talking about?
Oh, it absolutely is. I can sum up early voting in 3 words. MAGA strikes back. We have stepped back and waited almost a year and a half to vote against Brian Kemp. The numbers are incredible. Here's some early voting figures we have. Massive turnout, already over 100,000 votes. That's 5 times the increase in 2022 over this time in 2018. And here's the key. 45% of the 2022 early voters did not vote in the 2018 primary. 14,000 did not vote in the last 4 primaries. What that means is that they are not being polled or surveyed. They did not vote. There's 0 for 4. They did not vote in the last 4 primaries. They're turning out to vote in droves. There's record turnout. The rural areas, David Perdue is surging. And this is what this means. People that are really turning out like this are highly motivated. They're upset. They want to throw the bombs out. They're in an anti-incumbent move, and they won't change. This is what's going on. We're fed up. We're mad, and Brian Kemp is sensing it. That's why he turned to George W. Bush, to Karl Rove, to Mark Short, globalist Mark, and to Anthony Scaramucci, who just donated the maximum to Brian Kemp's campaign. He knows MAGA is rejecting him with the turnout numbers. David Perdue is surging, and we're this close to forcing Brian Kemp in a runoff, and he will lose this bus tour. It's been incredible, and it's responsible for a lot of this. John Fredericks, the whole team, the bus tour has been incredible. We are the deplorables. We are war room folks, and we're at war in Georgia.
Debbie, I want to thank you. How do people get there and see, maybe get a snapshot of your, by the way, the whiteboard was 10 times better than Karl Rove. You know, Fox News has Karl Rove. We got Debbie Dooley. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Boris, I think we got another. We team her with Boris. We're going to have her on the national
That's
broadcast
it.
on
Debbie's a
November
star.
8th. 100% Debbie Dooley in your grill with the. I love the whiteboard, ma'am. It's fantastic. Debbie, how do people get to you on social media so they can get more of your analysis?
Well, if I'm on, I have the same handle on Twitter and Getter. It's at Crimson Tider. That's CrimsonTider. And you need to get my emails. My emails, I go across Georgia. I've been on this bus tour. People constantly coming out and saying, we love your emails. If you email me at Debbie, DEBBIE, at mainstreetpatriots.us, I'll add you to my email list. And I don't hesitate. I don't pull punches. I am in your face.
I think that's what Biden's warning people now from the White House. Ultra MAGA. Debbie Dooley, yeah. God bless you. We're going to talk to you tonight. Hopefully get you on the we'll get you on the show tomorrow. Debbie Dooley. Boris, real quickly, you see the outturn. What did Debbie say? Headline, MAGA strikes back. Boris Ephsteyn.
MAGA, and we got the breakdown, how MAGA strikes back. These numbers are unbelievable.
100%.
They're mind-blowing, right? 5 times since 2018, 100,000 early voting, and it is outpacing Democrats by a huge amount, but also you know where the surge is coming from. It is all MAGA, and that's why Brian Kemp is so nervous, and he should be so nervous because MAGA is on the march in Georgia thanks to Debbie Dooley, John Fredericks, Caroline Jeffords, and so many other Patriots who are piling in the back of David Perdue and saying, let's go get this thing. And that's exactly what's happening as Perdue's closing in this race and looks like he's going to be able to overtake Brian Kemp. And hey, at least get him to a runoff and then overtake him there.
Okay, we're going to have Charles Herbster on tomorrow morning too. The big race out in Nebraska. Herbster on the morning
tomorrow.
Our next guest, Kerry. She's very special. She came on the show, had her premiere on War Room about a week or so ago. Kerry Mcquisten out in Oregon. She's running a Republican primary for governor, take on the governor's most unpopular governor in the union, and I think it's a chance to pick up one here. But here's why she's special. She got the cheapest guy I know, the tightest guy I know, Dave Bossy, to pay for a plane. He was so impressed by her worm thing. He's out there with Herbster, with Kellyanne and everybody. He flew out to Oregon to go out there and be an event for her, and then endorsed her, and then gave money. Kerry, you pulled the hat trick. You got Bossy actually reach in his pocket and write a check. Man, that he told me, he says, hey, I've seen her in action. She's on fire and she's going to win this thing. Tell us what's going on out there in Oregon, ma'am.
Oh, yeah. David Bossy was wonderful. I got to sit with him and watch Rigged, which everyone should see. But, I am really excited about this race now in Oregon because we have caught fire. And we have a chance right now. If I can get through that primary, I know that we can get through the general here. And if we do that, I have a chance to start overturning 4 decades of Democrat destruction. And not only that, I can turn the establishment swamp in Oregon on its head at the same time. Could you imagine a grassroots America First candidate being able to do that in Oregon? This is history making.
Kerry, tell us for a second for our audience. It's a global audience, but particularly across the nation. This is the Center for MAGA and Ultra MAGA. Tell us about, people think Oregon, it's a bunch of, Antifa guys in Portland and all that, and all these people eating soy all the time. Oregon is MAGA country, is it not?
Most of Oregon is. So we have that rural-urban divide. It's pronounced in Oregon. And we have that little group in Portland that's what's seen nationwide as the running joke in our state. But that's not the heart and soul of our state. I'm sitting here in Northeast Oregon where there's been a movement for the last couple of years to actually split off and join Idaho. So that's how extreme it's been in this state. And I'm coming in. This is the first time in my lifetime that I think we have a real shot at this. We haven't even had, I don't believe, a strong candidate, and definitely not a governor since the 1950s from Eastern Oregon. So when I say history making, this is history making in all meanings of the word. This is amazing what's happening here. And these folks, these red conservatives, they're there in the urban areas of Oregon and all the rural areas too. So,
Kerry, take a second and tell us, this governor is so unpopular because she's so crazed. Just take a minute or two and walk through this governor you be running against. How out of control is she?
well, so Governor Kate Brown is the most unpopular governor in the United States, but she's actually termed out. So who will be running against me in the fall would actually be someone from her regime. So whoever that ends up being has that weight of her failed leadership around her neck. I mean, it's bad here. We just passed things, and she signed into office or signed into law. For example, the Menstrual Dignity Act, which just went through, which means Oregon is focused, of all things, on putting tampons in boys' restrooms at schools. Okay, she kept us masked up and locked down just up until last month. She's pushing through a vaccine passport program still, if you can believe that. I mean, it's complete tyranny here in Oregon, and she and her regime, they need out.
Kerry, we know Dave Bossie and Dorsia. He's been full throat. Talked to me over the weekend. Said, "Hey, there's really something happening in Oregon, and Kerry can win this." How do you find out more? How do people find out more about you? How do they find out more about your campaign?
Yes, I absolutely can win this, but I need Oregon voters to all come behind me, and they can do that by starting at my website, which is kerrymcquisten.com. And from there, they can see interviews. They can go to my social media, which is just buzzing nonstop at this point. Donations nationwide. There's no limit if people want to help me stay on Portland Broadcast TV. That would be absolutely wonderful. But yes, get behind this campaign because we have a real shot at flipping Oregon red this time. It's going to be a tsunami.
Kerry, thank you very much. Honored to have you on here.
Thank you, Steve.
Boris, one of the reasons we love getting Joe Kent on here in Eastern Washington and getting Kerry on here talking about Oregon, the whole nation is MAGA country.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to contest everything. We're not backing down anywhere. I'm talking.
Nope.
I think there's 13,000 school boards. We want to control school boards, even the most progressive states. We're not backing down. This is a once in a life opportunity to come together. Give me a minute on how we got to focus on MAGA throughout the nation, not just in the battlegrounds, not just in the places that we know we must win. We also got to be spreading the word there.
No doubt about it. We've got to come in hot in Oregon, in Washington, in New York, in California, all across the country. We cannot take any losses for granted. Let's go get some wins. That's what happens when you have a big wave. And this is going to be the biggest, most historic wave in the history of this country. And that's why I love to see people like Kerry running in Oregon. I love Joe Kent in Washington. All across the country, you know, we've had candidates from California on here who are strong and who are dedicated and who are true and honest MAGA. And as long as you're that, you're going to have the War Room Posse, the MAGA movement under the leadership of President Trump. You're going to have the movement behind you. And that's what's most important as we go into this historic win in 22.
Okay, we had Kerry Lake on today. The railhead, and I said this up on my Getter account, the railhead of hardcore, the hardest core of the hardcore of MAGA is the great state of Arizona. Those patrons have been out there. They're the leading 3 November. Eli Crane, a real warrior out there, a patriot, a former military, a veteran running in Arizona too. Eli, talk to us about what's up now in MAGA out there. Tell us about your campaign, sir.
Hey, Steve, thanks for having me on. Things are going really good out here. We have set 3 consecutive fundraising records out here, thanks to the War Room and the MAGA Posse. And that average donation is $35, so it's a really grassroots campaign. The other thing that I want to bring up, Steve, on this campaign is that we got ranked a couple weeks ago as the top 3 race in the entire country that's most likely to flip from blue to red. We did really well in redistricting. We picked up 5 points. This district went from an R2 to an R7.5. What does all that boil down to and mean? It means that no Democrat, especially one like Tom O'Halloran, who's voting with Nancy Pelosi 98% of the time, needs to be retired, needs to go home. We just need a strong enough candidate able to do it, and I'm willing to go and serve my country once again.
Eli, real quickly, they're passing a $40 billion, talking about passing a $40 billion for 5 months in a bailout to the Ukrainian oligarchs. You're down there. You've got one of the largest districts in the nation, right? But you're right there. You got the southern border, an Arizona, an invasion going on. What are the folks in Arizona's priorities as you see it, Eli?
Well, I think they're the same as they are in the rest of the country, thanks to President Trump, who woke many of us up, made us ask hard questions like, what is putting America first look like? How could that $40 million be used here in America? How could it be used on the border? How could it be used in some of our communities that are struggling right now? And so those are the things that Americans are concerned about. We got inflation. We have no southern border. Those are the issues that Americans are concerned about. And I'll tell you what, Steve, one of the biggest ones that they're concerned about out here in Arizona, brother, is our elections. And we really missed you this last week in Mar-a-Lago. I saw a couple of the folks that frequent the show out there. I saw Beatty with Revolver out there. I saw Raheem Kassam with National Pulse out there. I'm glad you guys had some folks out there repping you guys, but it would have been great to have you at that premiere, Steve, because it was unbelievable. And there were so many conservative thought leaders there that left that venue after seeing that premiere, knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt how much fraud was in the 2020 election.
I mean, Catherine Engelbrecht, if you haven't seen the film, you got to see it. But the footage, they put together the film. We've had Catherine on here a couple of times. We're going to have her back on here. There's no doubt, Boris, I think you agree, the receipts are there. Eli, real quickly, this is one of the top 3 races in the nation, House races, the things that can be flipped. Eli Crane, how do people get to your campaign site to find out how you're going to do it?
Thanks, brother. It is eli4arizona.com. We'd appreciate any support you guys are willing to give us. God bless you, Steve, and God bless the War Room Posse.
Eli Crane, thank you very much. Boris Ephsteyn, you see it right there, whether it's school boards fighting in Texas, Debbie Dooley in the grassroots down in rural Georgia. We got folks up there in eastern Oregon that want to take back their state and get these governors out of there. They've been there for 40 years. You got the fighters in Arizona. This is a nationwide movement that's never been seen before. All those never-Trumpers and the progressives thought that Trump was going to go away. Not only is he not gone away, he's inspired a movement that's more powerful than ever and ascendant. We are ascendant now. Tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, I got to tell you got to tune in. We're going to have all kind of amazing guests and information. Boris, how do people get to you, and how do they particularly get to that morning email of yours?
The morning newsletter is hot. We're going to send one out tomorrow morning. BorisCP.com. Go sign up right now. Super hot website, BorisCP.com. Hot on Getter at BorisCP. On Twitter at BorisCP. Truth Social at Boris. Hottest on the gram, Boris_Epstein. Stay strong. God bless, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, I want to thank everybody at Frank's Speech and Lindell TV, the great team out in Memphis, everything, all our distribution partners. We're going to be back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. See me on Getter all night. I'm going to be lighting things up all night with my analysis and my commentary. Then back here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. in the War Room. Until then, strap in. You're in the War Room.